We all want to feel young, and the amount of products and social media trends can be overwhelming, bombarded with the notion that you too can be forever young. And while the term fountain of youth is mythical, science has revealed there are ways to reduce the risk of a premature demise. So what and who should we believe? Well, we thought our next guest, who happens to be a CJAD 800 Wall of Fame member, he'd be the best man to call on to tackle the subject and demystify some of the so-called biggest so-called solutions out there. Let's head over to Dr. Joe Schwarcz, host of the Dr. Joe Show right here on CJAD, for more on this one. Hi, Dr. Joe. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, hi, Elias.
And you are going to be holding an event on this at McGill University this week. We'll get into those details later.
Yeah.
But first things first, is there a fountain of youth?
Well, there's one in Florida, at least it is so labeled, because this is where Ponce de Leon, the Spanish explorer, supposedly found the fountain of youth. And now it's become kind of a tourist attraction. And you can actually drink from the water there. But if you look at the population of Florida, it doesn't look like it's working, right?
Why? Isn't it a big retirement community of people that are living pretty long?
Well, I don't know how long they're living, but you got a lot of seniors down there.
Okay, so
anyway, of course, everyone is searching for the proverbial fountain of youth because nobody wants to get old. We all want to put off death to the very last minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the question is how to do that. And not only do we want to increase our lifespan, we want to increase what we call our health span. We want to spend the last few decades that we have in good health, not, worrying about all the chronic diseases that so many people have. And there is a lot of research in this area. Unfortunately, there's also a lot of pseudoscience. And it gets all mixed in. I mean, these days the word peptide is, everywhere on the internet. People don't really know what these are. Very complex molecules. I mean, they're made of amino acids joined together in a chain, but they can have many, many different functions. Like the one that people are most familiar with is semaglutide, Ozempic, which is a peptide. And of course, it decreases appetite. It can lead to weight loss. But there are many other peptides that are promoted with very scanty evidence and based on animal studies, based on laboratory studies without any human evidence. For example, BPC 157 is a peptide that is widely promoted. BPC stands for body protection compound. And 157 is because it's a 15 amino acid chain. Now, interesting enough, this is actually produced in the human body. It's a byproduct of gastric juice, and it does have some role in protecting the lining of our stomach. But now it is taken totally, out of that history, and it's become a miracle product that is used in the gyms because people say that when you inject this, it has to be injected, you recover more quickly, your muscles become more quickly. If your tendons get injured, you get better. But the fact is that there's no human evidence. There are no human clinical trials about this. And one of the problems with it is that the mechanism by which it's supposed to work is through fostering the growth of new blood vessels called angiogenesis. And that makes sense in terms of, a muscle recovery. You want more blood flow to the muscles. But it also turns out that it can also increase the blood vessel growth around tumors. Tumors need nutrients to feed themselves and grow. And so, there's this potential downside, which hasn't been explored because the trials just haven't been done. But people are jumping on the bandwagon.
And
so I think it's important to realize, the difference between human clinical trials and some preliminary experiments that are done in the lab on animals or in cell culture. And it is generally very unlikely that the positive results that are seen in those preliminary laboratory animal trials turn out to have benefits for people.
I couldn't agree with you more on what you said earlier about, it's not just about years, right? It's about having good years left, right? People want to have years left in them where they can, live life to the fullest here. We're talking about the Fountain of Youth with Dr. Joe Schwarcz. So let me just ask you, because last week we had a discussion on this show about exercise. I was asking people about their exercise habits. We had one listener call in, 95 years old, and she's still exercising, right? And she credits that, at least in part, for her good health. But I wonder, I just wonder, what do we know about, like, how much of it is just good genes? Like, you're just lucky you're born with good genes and you're going to live long regardless, or is it about what you do in life?
Well, actually, genes are important, but much less important than people think. And we have a number of recent studies on that where they have looked at the so-called superagers. And these are people over the age of 80 who have no chronic disease. And it turns out that it is not because they have different genes. The genes play very little part. What plays a much bigger role is lifestyle. And that lifestyle is simpler than most people think. I mean, exercise and diet, that's really what it is really all about. And the exercise, we've often been told that you need to do 30 minutes of vigorous exercise about 5 times a week, which is true. That is the ideal. But we also have had a recent study, which is very interesting, which showed that even just 11 or 12 minutes of brisk walking a day can be of significant help in reducing risk of cardiovascular disease, reducing the risk of cancer. And also what is very important, and I was surprised to learn this, is the amount of exercise that we do, which is not targeted exercise, that is not going to the gym, not doing anything specific, but just everyday activities like cleaning and just getting up periodically from your chair when you're watching TV or, when you're working. So all of the things that you do, like, taking the dog for a walk, doing household chores, these are very, very important. We know, for example, from studies where people have been deliberately overfed calories, but of course they don't all put on weight equally. And that is because the amount of this non-targeted activity that they do every day is very important. People who fidget a lot, who get up from their chairs often, that can burn up a significant amount of calories, and that can also add years to your health span. So there's an awful lot of research that is being done, much of it on supplements. Most of them don't turn out to, do what the claims are. But some of them are worth pursuing further. Some of we're learning more about some of the vitamins. And so these are the kind of things, that merit discussion. And this is what I want to discuss on Wednesday night at McGill.
Well, to wrap us up here, Dr. Joe, let's just tell everyone about how they can listen to you on this subject even further. The event is called Searching for the Fountain of Youth. It's this Wednesday, 7 p.m. At McGill. Tell us the details, how our listeners can participate.
Yes, well, you do have to register because we need to know how many people are coming, and the place to do that is on our website, which is mcgill.ca/OSS. OSS, of course, is Office for Science and Society. So you just go to mcgill.ca/OSS and you can register there. And, we're going to discuss all the pros and cons and, whether or not you should be bathing in donkey milk if you want your skin rejuvenated. So all this sense and nonsense in the whole aging process.
Well, I'll direct all of our listeners here. I did a Google search for Searching for the Fountain of Youth McGill. Boom. First hit was how they can get the details. Okay. That's how good the Google is on that front. Dr. Joe, you're great. There's no question why you're a Wall of Famer. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks. Thanks very much.
Dr. Joe Schwarcz, Director of the McGill Office for Science and Society.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.